All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the City of Monona's Sustainability Committee for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. So we have quorum. Henry, you've got everyone written down the order with the roll call, and then I will take a motion to approve the minutes from our September 4th, 2025 meeting.
Motion to approve
Motion by Tim. Is there a second? Second by Kristen. Is there any changes, any corrections, additions? Jamie, was there anything about the meeting minutes that you noted that you thought needed to be changed?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes pass. Fabulous. Okay. We're going to pop right into appearances and introductions. We have both tonight. Mm-hmm. So for appearances, we have our city administrator, Neil Stick-Schulte, who will in a moment kind of take over with a presentation. And then we've got, which I guess that could also double as an introduction for those who may not know Neil.
Sure.
Would you like to say a few words?
Just obviously excited to be here. I've been here about 2.5 years, yeah. I think is already, amazingly enough. Nice to be working on this. I've spent a lot of time trying to update different plans for the city since I got here, including the emergency operations plan. We're undertaking our comprehensive plan update, the big one. This is one we've been talking about for a while too, that might need a little refreshing. And so I was like, ooh, 2015, yikes. Maybe we need to bring that one up a little bit more forward and kind of move that. So excited to be here and to help out with this in any way I can. So.
And then Neil, before coming to Monona, you were, go ahead.
Yep, I was, the previous position, I was Director of Community and Economic Development for the City of Green Bay. Did that for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was the Economic Development Director for the City of Sun Prairie for about 14 years. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I was a planner for MSA Professional Services for about 7 years. So I've been in and around. I think that's one thing we learned is that moving up to Green Bay was a great experience, bigger city, lots of good resources, lots of things to do, a lot of activity. Learned that I am a Dane County guy. My wife and I like it better, way better down here. It's just more of our style. It's more of our where we want to be, and didn't want to end up leaving. She works for Exact Sciences. Just really like the East Side here in general. Interviewed for this job. They're like, so well, tell us what you know about Monona. I said, well, I know about Fraboni's, I know about Ken's, I know about the farmer's market. I know in terms of food, we definitely were shoppers, regular visitors to this area. So this is a great opportunity. I know Alder DePula has his first restaurant is in Sun Prairie. So got to really know him there. And obviously he was the one who kind of said that, put in for this job here. So I'm glad to be on board, and they said, no, we got through the referendum, we're through the next one. This is about time to put some effort and some time in on this one. So I'm glad to be here.
One of the decisions I'm really proud of having been a part of.
Thank you.
That's great, yeah. So then we've got another couple of big introductions. We have a new employee to the Monona City staff, who's our staff liaison. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Henry. Just moved here after being in Milwaukee for the last couple of years at UW-Milwaukee for my Master of Urban Planning degree. Before that, I was actually living in the Madison area on the east side near Garver Feed Mill. Just working at the Easttown Mall because my first degree was in art at UW Stout. So I went for animation and got an art degree there. Didn't really have any career plans with that. And so, just worked random jobs, but then sort of got into urban planning around, while I was living in Madison, seeing the bikeability here, seeing the really good urban design. I'm sort of working backwards, but I'm from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, so about an hour north of here, and actually born in Austin, Texas. So fun fact. But and then grew up in Fond du Lac since I was 4. And then, yeah, went to school, moved to Madison, sort of got into urban planning, took a trip overseas to London and saw the good sort of public transit there, which also spurred on my sort of like interest in urban planning. So went to Milwaukee for the degree and then worked at the Wisconsin Bike Fed the summer after I graduated, which was this past summer. And then, yeah, got this job. So yeah, very happy to be here in my first full-time urban planning role.
Happy to have him on board.
Yeah, fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. Should we just go around the room? Henry, have you met Oliver Bernstein?
I've met, yes.
Okay.
Met,
Hello.
shook hands 3 times.
Oh, nice, nice.
Well, one more.
Want a little intro?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Jennifer doesn't
Find that
know you.
helpful.
Jennifer
Yeah,
doesn't
okay,
know me.
yeah,
I don't know Jennifer.
yeah.
My name's Rick Bernstein. I've been on this committee since I became an alder about 3 years ago.
Make sure the microphone catches you have a soft voice.
Oh, sorry. But let's see, I'm originally from New York. I was born in New York City, but I moved to Madison in 1990 and joined the Wisconsin Historical Society, where I worked until 2019. And moved to Monona in 2012, just a few blocks from here. And love it, so we're glad to be in Monona, glad to be involved with the committee. Glad you're all here.
Awesome. And I did not mean to single you out, Rick, but being part of the community media committee, I know we've talked a lot about how difficult it is for citizens to watch recordings of city meetings because they can't hear what people are saying. So there's a microphone on the table. Just, Jamie, can you hear? Okay.
I can. You guys
Okay,
sound great.
Great. All right, so speak up. All right, Kristen.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you a moment ago, but I'm Kristen Gunther and I have been on the committee. I think it's been 3 years now. And so, you know, I have a background in academic background in environmental sciences. I taught geography and did my doctoral work at UW, taught there for 8 years. But I now work for the state of Wisconsin and find my real meaning in life being able to participate in, among other things, this committee. And so it's just been a wonderful place to be able to participate in the community and add some value that way. So it's nice to meet you.
I forgot about your geography background.
That's right.
Interesting.
You know
Yeah.
who to go to for the nerdy questions. So.
Yeah, I'm Tim Cruiser. I'm a oncology physician by day, and going on 2 years this spring on the committee. Initially got engaged through some activities with pollinator work that kind of brought me into the mix here. And I met Jennifer, who was active participant in what we call the Bee and Butterfly Brigade. Planted some community gardens, and so then I've been active with the committee here and enjoy it, and look forward to working with you. Absolutely.
Well, I remember.
Yeah, I'm Jennifer LaBerge Henry. I am new to Monona, but my husband, Brian Henry, taught the district for 30 years. So I feel like I've lived here forever because we've been together a long time. But I moved here in 2021 and just kind of threw myself into the community because I just love it. And so I'm also on the board of directors for the Monona Community Festival. So we're already planning for the July.
About that time, yeah.
So you can see my sweatshirt. I'd rather be in my garden. No offense, but that's my passion, is just being outside and with the plants and the pollinators and just concerned about, you know, the state of affairs with global warming and all that stuff. And so any little thing I can do to help, I try to do it.
Did we tour your house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Yes,
that.
that's, I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it again.
Good. Okay, great.
Jamie, can I ask you to go next?
Yeah, for sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. Sorry, my kids screaming in the background, but I'm Jamie McDevigalis. I think I'm trying to remember, but I think it's like just a year and change that I've been on.
Yeah, not very long.
Yeah. And I've lived in Monona only since 2023. So pretty new and but I've been in and out of Madison for a long time. I did undergrad and grad school and then I was in Boulder, Colorado for quite a while and came back. My background is environmental science, sustainable development, and I have been recently, like over the past five-ish years, working in development and fundraising. So I'm at a large nonprofit called Rocky Mountain Institute. They go by RMI, focus on the clean energy transition. Um, yeah, nice to meet you guys.
That is exciting. And I know all of you and you know me, but for folks listening on the recording, I'm Teresa Rademacher. This is my third term as a it will be my third term in the city of Monona Alder. And I live over on McKenna Road and have lived in Monona for about 18 years maybe. And really love this committee because as I was hearing, like, Jamie, you've only been on for a year, like that boggles my mind because it feels like we've been at this for 10 years. Like I feel like it's just like the amount of like energy that you and others have put into this committee, it's one of my favorite committees because of all the passion that people bring to it. And that's really wonderful. All right, so.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yeah.
So my connection to conservation, I went to the 1-year boarding school, my junior year of high school called Conserve School in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. You might have heard of it. It's closed now, unfortunately, but yeah, learned a lot about like conservation and sustainability and yeah, read about great explorers like Ernest Shackleton. And so, yeah, just that's where my like appreciation comes from. And also grew up camping with my family. So yeah, appreciation with nature and such. So yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm just going to move on then. I'll close the appearances and introduction section and go on to agenda item number 5A, discussion and status of the Monona Tree Program. In your packet, there is the official resolution that was adopted by council. I wanted Henry to put that in the packet another time because I think it's just important that we all understand what the council agreed to. And I mean, that's just really important. And especially how it talks about at the very end, like the last part of the resolution, how the council is authorizing the continuation of the program with administrative support and with the Monona Sustainability Committee and other volunteers. So there will still be an element of involvement from this committee, but we just are still working out the fine details of what level of involvement that will be. Obviously, many people come to Monona because of the beautiful parks that we have, and it's very clear to everyone that our Parks Department knows very well how to work with volunteers and to run programs, and they obviously could do all of this by themselves. And so we're still working on the details about what we will be involved with. My guess is that the Sustainability Committee will definitely come into play when we're getting those trees in the spring and putting them in the ground and getting them delivered and things like that. And a little bit also coming up in maybe the handoff, but not anywhere near to the degree that we were. I'll be working with Neil to wrap up the grant documentation so that we are reimbursed for the time and the expenses that were incurred. That includes all the time that Parks put into building the website, all the time that we spent testing the website, and all of the planning and all the meetings. Volunteer hours are calculated into that. I also just put in I think it was maybe on December 30th. I ordered some yard signs just to get those in under their calendar year. Thinking that maybe when tree orders open, we could put out yard signs that simply say now accepting orders, just to get more promotion throughout the community. So yeah, are there any questions or comments or things that you wanted to ask about the tree program? Jamie, did you have any questions? I don't want to forget you there on the remote.
No, not right now. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So hearing none, I'll close that section of the agenda. I'll move on to agenda item 5B, discussion on sustainability, strategic planning and goals, Monona Sustainability Plan, and the Green Tier Legacy Communities document. And for this section, I would like to invite our City Administrator, Neil Steckschulte, to come and join us. Not that you have a clear voice that clearly would pick up on the microphone.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
just
try
nice
not
have
to
you here.
blast them out.
So Neil put together a presentation, and just to kind of set the table, this committee has, even in the sort of the continuity documents that Thor prepared and left you, it was clearly stated right on page 1 that this committee sort of struggles to understand its power and leverage and how do we make an impact, and we're not the boss of you, but yet council did approve this document, and how do we make stuff happen? And it's something I assure you that every community struggles with, from Madison to
every committee.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's interesting to hear you say that. What's going on?
Somebody's phone is buzzing.
So before I became an alder, the only committee that I had been a part of as a citizen was the Sustainability Committee. And in a lot of ways, it did not really give me an accurate understanding of how most city committees function. And so if you find yourself in that position, it can be kind of, you just don't know what you don't know, right? So with most city committees, like let's say public safety, let's say parks, public works, right? The big ones. You've got a department head, public works director, parks director, chief of police. You've got a department head that has done their job for decades. They know exactly what they need. They know what they need this year, in 3 years, in 5 years. They've got it all planned out. They've got council approval on every expenditure. They know what their expenditures are. They come to the meetings, and the alder pretty much just keeps track of what agenda item we're on, and they kind of do all the talking, right? And they just present, and people ask questions, and maybe sometimes city committees members might motion to have the department head look into something or do something slightly differently, but it's never off the charts different than what the department head is presenting to them. It's a very top-down structure. And the committee members aren't really involved in activities and community-facing projects. It just doesn't come up as something that's even available for them to do if they would like to be active in that way. So here we have sustainability, and one of the differences is that we don't really have a seasoned, department head, right? Like we don't have it's not the, there is no department of sustainability, right? And also the work that is outlined in our sustainability plans and our goals covers every department, right? So who better to get involved than the guy who knows what every department is doing, right? I mean, to me, this makes perfect sense. It's what I've been pushing for forever. It's what Rick and I have secretly like, how can we make this happen? Maybe, so I'm so happy that you're here, Neil, really, really. And also another big goal that you and I and the mayor have been talking about is that we have these documents that sort of provide direction and goals. And how do you move those documents through all of the departments, right? We can't do that. Again, we're not the boss of these departments. We can ask nicely, but you're the boss.
These guys are.
You're the
These
boss.
guys are at the end of the day. Don't let them fool you.
So the way we would do that though is would have to be through like motions and directives that go up through council, and then we'd have to vote on it. But if the other council members don't vote with us, it's just nice to have you here. So one of the goals that we talked about was how can we sort of bring the sustainability committee to behave more in line with other departments, right? And how can we formalize and institutionalize these goals? How might we look out a year, 3, 5 years out? How might we build it into the budget? Just like you budget for a new, leaf truck, whatever. How can we put things in our budget, right?
Absolutely.
I'll just leave it at that. I'm very excited to have you here. So,
Great.
all right.
I'm gonna fire them up here, see if we can get so certainly want to start off by saying, in terms of, it's very easy to fall into that pattern that Alder Rademacher referred to as that staff has done all the work. It's great that you trust us, that Alders trust us, that's great. I said, but it's still the role of that committee is still also to introduce new ideas and to make recommendations to council and the mayor. So that system is still from the committee up, the city council. City council is still the one that authorizes and gives direction. They're the ones who still approve the budgets and things, but that process is still, departments make recommendations, committees review them, amend them, alter them, send them up to council for official blessing, allocation of resources, and prioritization with everything else that the city's usually voting on.
I'm gonna hold my questions until the very end, but already I have one.
So in terms of, there is certainly there is oftentimes very technical types of items. Staff is oftentimes the technical resource on that, or has at least engaged that resource directly to make that recommendation, but it's still a recommendation until it is get up and it is approved by council. Go ahead and hop ahead first slide. So just wanted to kind of hop through the quick three bullets tonight. To just review the committee's charge, which is go to the ordinance. This is exactly what was passed by the city council. Take just a reminder what that is. We'll talk about the review of existing guidance documents. You've got that one whopper spreadsheet, I think, that Henry included in your packet. One thing, now when I first started taking a look at this, is I'm like, okay, this stuff is all over the place. It's in 4 or 5 different documents. So tried to put as many as we can just in one spreadsheet. So we've got the GLTC actions, the GLTC metrics, we've got the WLGCC resolution goals, and then we've actually got the sustainability plan goals. So now all those are in one spreadsheet with tabs across the bottom. So they're at least in one spot. So we can kind of try to get our arms around it a little bit and make that a little easier to do. So we'll do that. And then we'll just kind of go through a couple of, once we've kind of gone through that, and I'll let you know kind of what we're looking at the staff level, where we're at, and would love to hear recommendations and ideas from this group on kind of how we proceed from there. So hopped ahead in terms of actually looking at the ordinance. There's three key duties. There's one to review and recommend to the council's policies and programs related to sustainability. Not a real shocker there. That makes pretty good sense. That's what we really want to do. And so number 2, review and recommend to the Finance and Personnel Committee all budgetary revenue and expenditure proposals relating to those sustainability programs and policies. I think that's one you guys have kind of talked a little bit about, but maybe doesn't appear to be happening as much as it probably should, based on the directive from council. Third one is perform such duties as responsibilities as otherwise as council may dictate and ask you guys to do, usually by resolution or some other formal action at council level. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward, kind of open-ended. doesn't give a whole lot more direction on priorities and kind of where we go on those types of things. So we kind of wanted to take a look, and we, as we started this process and met with Alder Rademacher and the mayor, and certainly made them more aware of the different, those certainly things, the sustainability plan 2015, the resolution that was passed with our renewable energy goals. Again, that was good. That was great, a good document. But then working with staff, particularly Brad and our public works department, talking more about these Green Tier Legacy goals and actions. And I think there's 110 actions, 41 metrics, 20 goals in the resolution, and another 39 goals in the sustainability plan. That's a lot of stuff. I mean, we kind of knew it's a little bit of everything. Kind of knew that when we started having the conversation, but that's a lot of stuff for any committee or even as any staff, really, to kind of certainly an individual person, even to keep track of. Even in our conversations we've had, we had a good conversation with Middleton's sustainability coordinator. One of the first things she said was, she was like, even I don't have enough time still to get to everything that I think I would like to get to, because it's just such a wide, it literally touches every department. So figuring out, how do we move forward on some of this? And I do think that number 3, that sustainability plan is kind of the way to really help where you guys can have the biggest impact and the biggest input on what those priorities should be. So going through a process with you guys on some level to establish, what are the things you're interested in achieving, how to actually get those and recommend those to council, and giving your alders enough ammunition to take that up to the city council and be like, yep, this is what we want to do, and actually get that adopted. That's a key word, adopted. So we've had conversations about we've accepted plans or we've acknowledged plans, or well, from staff standpoint, that's not exactly direction. It's okay, that's a nice document. Thank you for all your efforts, but it's not necessarily adopted as policy and directive. So an important word is adopted here. We want to make sure and keep that in mind. So I kind of talked about, why is that plan document, I think, really important. And the main thing is it connects the sustainability committee to their charge assigned to them by council. And it's your primary means, I think, of communicating what you guys feel are priorities. And I think that's the important part. Now, the trick is to kind of make sure that that's a functional. How do we focus that to a point where we've used the term moving the needle, I think, in several of our conversations. How do we really make the biggest impact that we can? And I think this is an opportunity to kind of help do that. So we talk about defining those programs and policies that are prioritized by the city council based on committee input. Council, I'll give my 2 alders, other than these 2 alders who have spent considerable amount of time discussing this and looking at this issue on a regular basis. Not quite sure what the level of expertise and comfort is with those other alders related to sustainability issues, particularly more technical things. They need to rely on you guys as a committee to say, hey, this is what this council, you guys should be doing this stuff. This is a great idea, whether that's staff making a recommendation saying we think these are important, you guys agreeing and setting it up, or you guys saying, hey, we've done it, this is something we feel is important. That still goes up to council. This is what we think we need to work hard, spend resources and time on. This is important. So that process, but I think the main avenue to do that is through your update of that plan. Defining programs and policies that could be reviewed for budgetary impacts. This plan could be the place to formalize that process to do that. Right now, that doesn't really exist. A statement saying, hey, these guys should be looking at stuff and reviewing the financial impacts for sustainable projects and programs and policies. Okay, how does that happen? Right now, there's no set fixed thing of saying, hey, we're gonna buy a new electric vehicle for the police department. That probably never came true to you guys. No, I'm not anticipating you guys saying that's a bad idea. But according to that charge in our ordinance, that probably should have come through you guys in terms of looking at what's the impacts on that. Is there anything else we should be looking at? Just in terms of what that is. So that's something you can formalize in this plan document in terms of what sorts of things and how those things would come to this committee. Third one is adopted by resolution, which is clear direction from the city council to the committee and to staff for that matter. Again, if it's adopted, it means it's formal official policy. City council has blessed it and said, yep, this is what we want you guys to do, and this is what we want staff working. And you are authorized to work on these things in the context of that plan.
Is the resolution for clean energy adopted?
A resolution is generally adopted. Yeah, Ken's coming, is he coming in now? Check on your.
Neil, I'm just getting online. I apologize for joining late. I was tied up
No
with some
problem.
family commitments.
So we're making sure we got you. Go to your Zoom page there, Henry. This one down here. Let's see if we click down here.
Mouse,
Oh, is it? There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
See if we get him in. I want to stop screen sharing just for a second. Oh, go to participants. I'm sorry. Check that out. Should be able to get him in there.
I can see you
Ken's,
guys
oh, so
already.
Ken, you're in. Okay. Good deal. We got you, Ken. Okay, good deal.
Hey, Ken, glad that you're here.
Hi, folks. Sorry to join you late this evening.
No
That's
problem.
okay, welcome. So my question is rooted in, and I said I would hold it until the end, but you've said it like 3 or 4 times now, so I just wanted to like, the key is the word adopted.
Yes.
And when something is adopted, that becomes policy, and that is a directive to the staff.
And to you as a committee, absolutely.
So the resolution for 100% clean energy and resilience is already a directive to staff. Is that fair to say?
To pursue, and what it lacks is the implementation steps. on how to get
Correct.
there.
Correct.
But it does say, it is the city council saying that they agree that it's a priority to try and pursue that goal objective.
Right.
But without some extra work and initiative on trying to figure out how to implement that, it's a nice thing to hang on the wall. It's a great statement, looks nice.
It was adopted and signed by the mayor,
Yep.
March 20th.
Yeah. So
So
it
it is
is,
adopted, it says adopted.
technically it is policy. Now, what it doesn't have is it doesn't have budgetary allocation. It doesn't have specific implementation steps associated with that resolution. It just says this is a great idea. So coming in, that's when we kind of fall back to this plan. Is maybe that's the place we start identifying, saying, hey, by the way, city council in 2019, you guys said this was a great idea. Here's some things we think we need to start looking at to help actually implement that and meet that goal.
So this committee would, so step us through what that would look like. So someone on the committee would motion to, I mean, the problem is that we all have full-time jobs,
Mhm.
myself included.
Yep.
Plus 3 other committees.
Mhm.
And there is no full-time sustainability professional on
Correct.
staff who knows about grants and buildings and solar and,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, and this is work that affects the entire city, the entire community, all departments. We have no authority, but the authority we do have is like, well, we have to become experts in finance and grants and, in order, I just feel like it would be almost an impossible ask for citizen volunteers
Mhm.
to deliver that sort of expertise and time
Right.
needed. So that's the challenge I see.
No, and absolutely, and I think, and actually Jamie's got her hand up. We have a question, I'll make sure she gets her question in.
Yeah, so I don't want to skip ahead in thinking about this, but like yes, we need this plan and it needs to have weight and be viable to be implemented. But I think without solving the time issue and the commitment issue that we all have, or maybe what if the first step is getting that commitment from those in charge in office to implement, getting the commitment to take the steps necessary to implement, and hiring someone, hiring a sustainability professional. I'm sure it's not in the budget right now, but it's I can't see this done without another professional.
We talked about hiring a consultant.
For specific assistance, I think that's certainly an avenue we could take for specific goals and objectives to try to evaluate and come up with those steps. Absolutely, I think that's something we can look at. I think that's more of a manageable budget impact. If we did that on more of a project by project type of basis. Unfortunately, we went to referendum. I think we asked people in the community if they were interested in providing funding for some additional staffing resources. Didn't really get that in terms of, which is why we went back to just the status quo for our referendum in terms of maintaining staff. I think part of the reverse answer on that, Jamie, is kind of focusing and certainly by looking at the sheer volume of all these goals and objectives is overwhelming. And it's like I said, even if we have a full-time staff on this, the odds of being able to address all of those things is pretty tough. Because there's so many other resources and other things that have to be contributed to make that viable. So one of the things I'll kind of talk through as we kind of keep going through this is, how do we focus and prioritize those things that we think we can do and we can move the needle on and we can get feedback from this committee on and we can make budget recommendations as part of the CIP or as part of the operating budget, and we can actually say, hey, either we think we can do this as a committee, we can do this, or staff says, hey, actually, we think we can do this. Some of the policies and things we're going to probably be recommending out of all of those 140 goals, there's a couple of them in there that like, staff can prepare an updated policy for that sort of thing. We can do that. And so I think as we kind of go through that big giant list, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, there's kind of 4 categories of all that. There's 210 total, I think, is the number. Out of taking photos, there's things that the city staff is already doing and the council that we're already taking care of. So identify those things, but we don't talk about them. They just kind of get rolled into. When we talk about, hey, yeah, actually our public works RFPs have a, reusing materials. That language is in there. Nobody talks about it. We don't know what it's not. We don't realize that. So we keep thinking, what are we doing to be enough renewable and sustainable? There's things so first of all, we can acknowledge those things, and not that we can't do better, but we're already moving on those things. Then there's things that we think we can do with a little bit of extra resources identified, if that's either staff time or consultants and budget. Some of the things that we'd like to get to and we think we can do, but we need some help to do that. Then there's going to be some things that we just don't think we're set up for. That just don't really apply to us for one reason or another, either size of community or just not really is in our ability to directly control or impact that. So I think it's breaking those down a little bit into those categories and kind of reviewing that list of saying, okay, stuff we're doing, awesome. Anything we can do better, we can look at that list and pull those things out. You guys as a committee can certainly help with that. So yeah, that's great. We love you doing that, but we want you to add this onto that. We'd like to recommend moving on and advancing that, doing a little bit more than that. And then counting on staff to identify some of those things that like, what, guys, we don't do this right now, but with a couple of relatively easy steps or changes, we think we could do and make some impact on it. And that's sort of another one. Would probably come up with a staff list of breaking that up, but then presenting that to this committee saying, what do you guys think? Does this make sense? Is it like, yeah, that's great, but that's not what we really want to focus on. The committee really wants to focus on these. But having that iterative process to kind of get it, try to focus it down a little bit, count on the expertise of the folks on this committee to be like, yep, that's great. Nope, that's nonsense, or that's good, but maybe you need to adjust it and do it this way. So I think that's the main mechanism through that plan document and those goals that I think would help us facilitate that conversation with you guys.
I don't mean to jump in if you have more slides that you want to get to.
Go ahead. Go ahead by all means.
As you said, 210 goals. And as Teresa alluded to, the difficulty with this committee is that we not only don't have an implementation arm, we don't have police officers or teachers, we don't have any accountability. If the schools suck, the superintendent gets fired. If the police suck, the department, we ask.
We'll start again.
I know a lot about this stuff.
All right, why don't we keep going with Neil's presentation then?
And
Yeah.
so Tim, your point is well taken. I think the other night with our comprehensive plan meeting, we had an exercise, and Alder talked about it if she wants to. They put different categories of things up, and they said you had to pick one. Which in reality, it's not really a picking one. There are multiple things and values that kind of coexist. But in that exercise, sustainability was one of the things identified on the list of like 3 or 4 other things. And I think you were the only person who
I
voted
did
for it?
not vote for it.
You didn't vote for it,
Because
yeah.
I wanted to see
Yeah,
if anybody would vote for it.
So was there one?
And one
I think
person
we got
voted
one
for
did,
it.
but that was out of the whole plan commission and out of the whole city council. Now,
But it was
to Alder's
presented as
point,
a choice.
no,
Do you want
actually is.
economic growth or
You had to pick
sustainability?
one
Like,
priority.
Yeah, great.
But
Yeah.
the interesting point about that, and
Yeah.
Trish is absolutely right. It's not an either
It's
or.
not a
It
choice.
coexists with all those other things. But it is a flag in terms of, okay, knowing where there may be other priorities out there that if push comes to shove, may, at least in that environment, were picked to supersede this particular item. Now, I will very confidently and look everyone in the eye and say, as we do our comprehensive plan, there is going to be a major sustainability focus in that plan document. Whether it's either as a separate element that we add, it's not a required element in the state statute. We may either do it as a separate element, or we may just have a cross-reference process in the document where we are identifying sustainable
I hope
activities
that
throughout the plan.
The second is what you choose, because
So
when
we think that's actually easier, I
you
think,
do
doing
it
it that way.
separately, it doesn't work.
Yeah, so I can, but the point being, so it's like, we need to point, let's say, and this guy probably, I would say the challenge maybe to this committee and to the 2 alders here is to try to elevate that in terms of the overall discussions on how we look at priorities and things. Let's hop ahead to the next slide if we could. We're talking about how we use to focus the city's efforts on achievable goals and objectives that have the greatest impact based on available resources. That is always, unfortunately, that last part is always the part that ends up mostly pulling the rug out from underneath. But then it does make it more difficult to try to get things done. Because we don't have a dedicated staff person, because we don't have a lot of extra resources for different things, and to try to get folks to, focus on looking at what the immediate cost impact of something is versus the cost impact over time. The flip side, and I've had to say in a couple of different occasions in meetings with staff, that it doesn't always have to be a cost positive impact, either immediately or over time. If there's a value judgment made on this is important to do that, then, but if it costs an extra $10,000, $20,000, well, then that's the decision the elected officials have to make.
What if it saves
So I mean, the value,
Well, eventually,
$20,000?
well,
It
it's-
would save $20,000.
Well, I'm saying, and not, I mean, again, but
that value
I would-
decision has already been made. They pledged that value decision.
which I agree, Tim, until they get to the budget.
I know.
And then they get to a net new construction, we can grow our budget 2% this year. What are we gonna do? So, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, these guys, until that's why they pay them the big bucks. And so these guys have to make those decisions on how to do that. And it is a challenge, but if we're not making sure that conversation is being had when those things like the CIP and things are being evaluated and those projects are being prioritized, which we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through here too. Evaluating that fiscal impact on that, we need to be setting like this planning effort and these priorities. And if it's focusing just solely on the carbon reduction goals that they've done there, if that's all that we want to focus on, which is still a big deal, then we got to do that right around the time and communicate that message right at the time where departments are putting their capital budgets together and figuring out, and that's probably up to me or somebody else kind of going through when we kind of get that first round of everything being submitted. And me being like, oh, that one has a component. Nope, that one has a sustainability component. Oh, that one does. Pulling those out and getting that on as part of your guys' agenda to look at those things and deciding if and when you want to comment on anything else. As far as I'm aware, that hasn't happened at this point. So I think that's one thing, again, in an updated plan document, put that right in there. So as departments prepare their CIPs before they're formally reviewed with the mayor and other things, there should be a feedback mechanism done with the sustainability committee on which of those items have a sustainability component or should have a component and should move forward. We have the full list available to you, but we're going to try to do our best to pull those things out that certainly I would think you guys should have a chance to take a look at.
So just a quick question. This is, I'm sorry to reveal my ignorance, but the city's sustainability committee, can you tell me the frequency, like where are we at with our sustainability, our strategic plan on me?
Yeah, one of the things we are doing right now with certainly all those goals that are in that attachment in your packet right now is I am actually meeting with each department head so with Brad in our public works department, with Doug Plowman and our planning and zoning guys, and we're going through and we're trying to answer that question for literally all 210 goals.
I mean, in our strategic plan as a city, is this like a 4-year plan that we have? How does the city?
Well, it was originally done in 2015, and I don't.
This is the strategic
You're
plan
saying
for the city.
strategic, but you mean comprehensive.
Oh, the comprehensive plan, the major one?
Which one are we talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, maybe I need to be educated on what the
Yeah,
difference is
I
between a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan.
No,
Can you
absolutely
tell us
great,
that?
absolutely. So the comprehensive plan is a required plan document by Wisconsin state statutes that we have to do every 10 years. It's essentially like a land use plan is probably the main component of it, but it has an natural cultural resources component. It has transportation, it has community facilities and utilities, it has these 9 required elements, but land use is really the big one that comes in that. So its main purpose is certainly to set some strategic priorities and so forth for the city, but it's also to really, from terms of land use and what kind of zoning regulations and reviews we want to do. That's where it's the biggest impact is really on that sort of plan, what the plan commission really does. Let's say if we're assigning plan documents to different departments or committees, the comprehensive plan is for the plan commission, city council. They're going to get the most use out of these things. But in terms of what sort of development do you want? What sort of land use patterns do you want? All of these, almost every one of these elements has a significant sustainability tie. Almost every one of them. So it's kind of figuring out how to interject and work those things in there. And I think even our existing plan does it have a symbol in terms of, I think it does call out specific sustainability components in the plan documents right now.
Right. When you were first hired, when I met with you, and I said, so let's do that.
Yeah, so it does have that in there, which is great. And it is very much an overall, a very lot higher end out of any plans that are done at the city level, probably the one that carries the most weight from state statute purposes. Because what they're supposed to, any zoning and land use decisions that are made, once that's adopted, are supposed to be consistent with that plan document.
Okay.
So otherwise you can get in trouble. If somebody comes in and we make a zoning decision that's not consistent with that, we get sued.
So there's a lot of alignment. And so you're saying the city also, though, do we have also like a corresponding strategic plan that the city does, or is this our guiding plan for our city?
The comprehensive plan is the main one. I mean, I think there's been it has some strategic value to it in the beginning. There's been a couple of surveys done. There was a plan done at some point. It was before my time. Probably needs to be revisited. I mean, we're going to do some of that, hopefully as part of the comprehensive plan process and kind of identify, is this still what we want to do? In terms of setting that overall tone of kind of just general direction. So that's the main item on that one. The sustainability plan is kind of, you can almost look at that as the 10th element of the comprehensive plan in a way. You could say that even though it doesn't exist here, the ideal thing would, you guys could do this and update whatever it is, priorities you want to send up to council decides, yep, that's good. That gets worked in directly, that direction, which should directly impact and be incorporated into that comprehensive plan. Because there's two, obviously you guys know better than anybody, there's two sets of metrics we're really looking at. It's what the overall community does and on these types of goals, how we perform and how we do on those things. And then there's actually city buildings, facilities, vehicles, equipment, operations. Those are the 2 areas we have. Now we got direct control over the city operations on stuff. Tim's point. We got that's where, honestly, that's where we can really move the needle. Is doing it on those types of things. Yeah. So what are we doing? What do we, I think part of it is, and I would say, I agree, Tim, there's certainly some things that we aren't able to do and we haven't done. Like there's a lot of stuff that we are doing that I don't think anybody, including you guys, don't know about, because nobody's taking the time to be like, hey, by the way, we are actually doing these things. So now I'm still saying that we could be doing a lot better than we are, which is, I think, one of the reasons I'm happy to sit in on this and try to get something refocused and start moving on that a little bit. So
could we just Why don't you, Henry, could you just move on to the next slide in the interest of time? I
Yep.
think that, let's talk about what are we gonna do here?
Yeah, so here we go, talk about working with staff to kind of complete an initial status report. We've got all these different goals, we've got them all out there. I'm not talking, at least, like, imagine just doing like 1 or 2 bullets on each one of these. Talking with staff, this is where, talk to Brad on our, he's gonna be our guy for like renewable energy stuff, he's our guy. So get some responses from him on those and see exactly where it is. Doesn't mean you guys be like, okay, that's great, we want more information on that. But it's gonna hopefully establish a baseline for us. So I think we're in the process of doing that. I think we can have that ready to go probably by February.
Okay,
So including the action, it has the recommended metrics, assigned staff, applicable data we're supposed to be using to track that, which isn't always readily available, especially on all those 120. It's like, ooh, that's a great idea to do that. Where the hell do we find that information? Now, Brad's just like, oh, well, you just go here and here, and he knows a lot of that stuff. But we need to almost codify that and be like, look, Brad gets hit by a bus. We still need to know who to call at MG&E to get this data from and have this information. If we control it, it's great. Staff to draft, I'd say give us a shot at once we kind of get those and maybe give you what an updated plan might look like. And by saying that, I'm looking at kind of like a 3 to 5 page executive summary, high level kind of thing, almost as more of like a strategic priority list that we could kind of maybe and get that in front of you guys to tear it apart, light it on fire, whatever you guys want. It's like, that's not what we want to do. We want to do this. But that would be directly based on how we would look at evaluate all those different goals. The idea would be to pull 5 to 10 things out of there. Like, this is the stuff we really think we can make headway on and we can really do. Here's maybe that secondary list of stuff that we'd like to do, but we don't have the resources for. And then finally, but actually, bring that to you guys and kind of have you review it, probably not just one meeting. I think that's going to be a couple meetings probably to give you guys time to digest stuff. And then maybe kind of, I just threw mid-year to have something at city council. The reason I picked July is because that's right before we do capital improvement planning. So if you guys have kind of say, yeah, this is the stuff we want to do, and we're perfectly timed up, set up timing wise to move that on and have that as part of that CIP development. Because that's the capital projects, that's where rubber hits the road. So.
okay.
So then we kind of do like a July 1 to June 30th kind of try to measure. Once we've adopted those goals, we think these 5 to 10 are the ones we really want to focus on. That's the purpose of at least either Henry or me coming to you guys on those basis and saying, hey, here's how we're doing on these. So we talk about that accountability. Where are we doing? What's working? What's not working? So kind of formalize that schedule into what you guys are doing as part of your regular meeting agenda.
I think that all sounds super helpful, and it's nice to know that you've got this kind of framework, lined out. I wonder if, and I don't mean to hijack the committee's goals here. I wonder if we might suggest that all of those 5 or 10 items are carbon focused towards the bigger pledge that the city made, and then we start chipping away at this goal that I think is very important, and I think others do too. But is that something we could propose tonight, or that the 5 to 10 metrics of the
Save staff a lot of time.
the city are going to focus on for this report would be,
Yeah, there's so many things going through my head. Like, yes, carbon is absolutely the number one critical thing we have to do, which is why the resolution came after the sustainability. The sustainability plan came first, and the committee said, hold on, the most important thing here is carbon.
Yeah.
And so then the resolution came after. So really, it's all about carbon and getting 100% clean energy. And I would completely support, or if the body, you guys would have to decide if you support focusing on carbon.
If that's the direction of the committee, I would ask for a motion to say that.
Yeah,
let's make that right.
Eventually, but in a moment, yeah.
I think it'd be a good idea to let Neil finish his work.
Okay.
And then from there, we can plant our flag on.
Okay,
carbon.
Henry, you want to?
And I think that's really the last one, I think so.
Okay, last
But
slide.
knowing that's the emphasis, that's still good for us to start
Sounds
evaluating
good
all those.
idea.
We know where we'll spend our time. So we'll look at all the other ones and we'll answer those things, but we'll make sure we zero in on those particular ones.
So, again, my strong concern is that there is no Department of Sustainability with a Director of Sustainability. There's Public Works Department Director, the departments have their own directors. We don't have that. If we did, there would be a full-time employee who would think of nothing except these sorts of things all day long, 8 hours a day, and who could do all of that work. I just don't see a group of volunteers
And we're not
being
saying,
able.
we never said that.
Okay.
No, we never said that.
Yeah,
We're
okay,
saying, I'm saying that I and staff
okay,
are evaluating those things.
okay.
So, I mean, to the point, I mean, like I said, I fully agree. I mean, we're gonna have trouble as staff finding enough time to get all this accomplished in a way to do
It sounds
that.
like our role is to hold you accountable, is I think what I'm.
Yeah, I'm here saying this
To
is what we're
follow
gonna
up,
do, yeah.
Make sure
Yeah,
things are being
absolutely.
done.
Although there were a lot of things on the slide that fall to this group, which do not fall to any other city committee.
Sure.
The Public Works, when you're at a Public Works committee, nobody walks away with homework from those committee meetings. Nobody. So, including sometimes the alder, you know.
And just to be clear, we won't be, as far as we go through that stuff, I will not be making any recommendations on those specific objectives for actionable, I should say, other than voting and approving and prioritizing those things of this group. You guys want to talk about something and decide to take something on that, that is certainly your prerogative to do that. I'm going into this assuming that that staff, based on council approval of directives and priorities, these are the things we're gonna be directed to do, and we will be going out and pursuing those things at the staff level and reporting back to you guys on like a quarterly basis on, hey, we picked these 10, this is where we're at, this is what we got done, this is what we thought was working, it's not working, we're pivoting, we're doing this now. That's what you're gonna come see from staff. So there are other things that you guys as a committee, I know that you guys do and you wanna keep doing it, that is the purview of you guys to do that. We're not gonna be, I'm not gonna be recommending
The only,
that you guys take on additional work on
no,
those kinds
no,
of things.
no. The only things
So-
that this committee does are in the sustainability plan.
Mhm.
The community focused things.
Yeah.
And the focus has been on the community focused objectives because there's just, it's what we can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
So
again,
it's better
there's,
than doing nothing.
and there's value to, there's
So-
absolutely value to that,
Yeah.
absolutely, but I think if I'm gonna keep going back to it. We're really looking to move the needle on carbon and renewables and that. This is the stuff that you can have staff work on and make recommendations on, and that's where you're gonna move the needle. It's city operations and things here, that's where, I mean, for me, that's the stuff that we have direct control over.
So Neil, with the,
We
going
have a new
back,
committee member that's joined us.
going back to the, resolution for 100%
Mhm.
clean energy, which we've clarified is policy and it is direction that has been given to staff. It sounds to me like,
But there's no,
What's left?
there's no implementation steps though. That's when we go through
is
and
that
we review.
ours? Is this committee expected to come up with the implementation?
We're gonna be,
plan?
well, those implementation steps are in those 210. I can guarantee you those are in those 210 goals and objectives and actions that in that spreadsheet we gave you.
To 100%?
Yeah.
Really?
There are gonna be steps on things that are how to do that. And then we
Yeah.
may need to clarify, and right now, I agree, there is no clear. Pass the resolution, awesome, great,
Yeah,
now what? There isn't the next step, how do we start getting those things in, but I think it's gonna be looking at, certainly just, city. Like, make sure we understand how, not only just to look at our numbers, how do we get the numbers, who actually gets the numbers, who at MGE do we need to call?
so maybe just give me a baseline.
Yeah,
would be
I
our
wanna see-
first step.
I look at this update of this plan is, guys, here's your operator's manual. You guys are interested in doing this? Here you go. This is who does it. What these, what stuff might cost. This is the thing that you guys, it's gonna be your Bible. Come in and you come to your meetings and man, this thing should be helping you make decisions and giving direction, giving recommendations to these folks.
Thor gave us the carbon data for the city operations in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't know if you pass that off to Henry or if we have that.
I'm sure it's in there. Yeah, I'm sure it's in there.
It was somewhere in the low 20s.
And having the data is awesome, but we need to be able to make sure we know how to recreate it and update it when we need to.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I think, rather than focus on just measuring it, we should focus on these 5 or 10 items towards increasing that 22% to 35% by 2027. And these 5 or 10 mandates that we're going to hopefully come together and work with you on should be ideas that move city departments to have rather than just say things globally like buy more EVs, we should say we want half the fleet to be this, and start to think about more concrete numbers and targets.
Yeah, so I mean, and honestly, that's the more concrete the recommendation is, the easier it is for staff to evaluate. Yeah, to be honest. Okay, I know you guys wanted 10 new EVs. We think we can do 4 for this. Here's the explanation, but it gives us the thing to measure and say, okay, or hey, no problem, easy enough. Actually, we think we can do 12. Do X, Y, Z. But it gives us the point to shoot for. Which right now, like that resolution, other than just identifying the target, it doesn't give us a, hey, you know what? Top 5 ways to really get on that and do that is here. We think if you do this particular infrastructure improvement, that's going to help you 5%. If you do this one, it's going to help you another 8%. Start giving us
steps,
tangible ways of saying, hey, this is a good idea. It's like, okay, we got all 5 of them. Council, budget time. I think we can do 3 of them. Which 3 do you want to do?
So one of the things that we learned when we talked with the sustainability coordinator of Middleton was that they also had this very, audacious goal, like 100% clean energy. Like, how the heck are we going to do that? They hired a company, McKinstry, same company that the Monona School District worked with and continues to work with for their energy management. And McKinstry worked for that community on a performance guarantee, which means that they guarantee that the money saved from the implementation of XYZ project is going to be more than their fee to the city for coming up with a plan for that project, right? So that's one way that it could be financed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we looked at hiring a consultant that would give us a roadmap to 100% clean energy, $70,000, right? It was staggering, right?
Slipstream.
There was an RFP. I don't recall which it was ultimately. But so that's just an option. So I just think, like, what if we just said, hey, city, or we passed some sort of a directive here that not in place of what Tim had said, but just as another idea to throw out there. A directive could also be hire somebody or find somebody or just get a plan or get the roof replacement schedule and all the buildings mapped out and what year and what can we do and where are all the opportunities in the city. And I think a company would do that for us. A company like McKinstry would find all those opportunities. But I think there are creative ways to pay for it.
It's a good thing you guys are elected to council, so you can talk about that, put that forward.
I mean, and I want to talk about that too, because I think a lot of times I don't understand my own power and what levers I can push. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing to always remember is the buck stops with the city council. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are the decision makers. Staff doesn't necessarily have that authority. We can make recommendations.
But
you guys, we are, in terms of a lot of operational things, we are maybe the ones with the most knowledge on our operations. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to give you our best recommendation based on what we know.
Let me put a challenge out to you. Just and I keep using Public Works as an example. Another one. I really like that committee too, but I wouldn't trade it. But anyway, so I'm one of the elders on Public Works. the buck stops at city council.
Mhm.
I can't just make something happen. And
Not on your own, you
Dan
can't,
Stefani, for him to do it, the director of
Mhm.
public works.
but you
It
guys,
has to go through the public works committee, then it goes to
Mhm.
council.
Yep.
And things in the public works committee start with the director of the department. And he sends them down to the committee rubber stamps it, it goes back up to
but
council.
I'll stop you right there. It takes 2 alders to put an item on the city council agenda.
True.
And maybe that action is, hey, we want to refer this to staff or refer this to city council or refer it to sustainability for a recommendation. You can do that at any meeting, because the two of you have together have the ability to put anything you want on the agenda.
Council
of our-
Now, it's almost always gonna say, yeah, we'd really like a recommendation from the committee to do that, and you may get a recommendation. I'm gonna give you the example, a public works example, speed bumps on Winnebago.
Mhm.
Public safety hates those damn things.
I know.
The guys who drive the fire trucks in a hurry, they hate those things.
I know.
And yet somehow, city council at some point said, yeah, you know what, guys? We think we still need speed bumps on this street here. Well, I guarantee you, we had both chiefs in there being like,
Don't do it.
don't put those in there. Public Works is like, yeah, put these in, those slow traffic down. Council made the call,
Right,
so.
I get that.
so-
One of our
It's-
charges is to recommend things to the finance and personnel.
Which I just,
And again, I think the problem
just
is
think
there's
our
no
charges are messed
mechanism, there's not a mechanism to do that. And that's why we're saying at least,
Charged with
It's in the
impossible
ordinance.
tasks.
it's in the ordinance. I agree, Alderman, in terms of, okay, so how many times does that happen for you guys?
Never.
Never,
Because we don't,
because there
we didn't
isn't,
really know that it was there, to be honest.
Oh,
because-
I knew that
yeah.
it was there, I just don't understand how we would ever do it.
so that's why I'm moving this one,
Wanted to
guys.
hire somebody as a
Yeah.
consultant.
But by moving this,
put that
guys,
together in written form, and it forwarded to the personnel and finance committee.
So, okay, let's, I'm sorry that, I feel like I'm fighting in front of children.
no.
I mean, like, but it's like, okay, so we do that, right? And then it goes to council and someone on council says, and with what money are we gonna do this? And then they say no,
Well, then you're done.
you know, then you're done,
Unless someone has a different idea
then you're
how
done.
to pay for it or
So-
bring a different idea.
So this
Well,
has to
I
be a
mean, we have to be-
collaborative, all departments
Mhm.
working through a plan, so to have the city administrator work with all departments, to have, it has to be a collaborative effort.
Oh, absolutely.
To move the entire city
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
direction, or do we just strong arm it and say, you gotta hire someone, you have to hire a person to be the director
You
or
guys
the
can fight that, you
company,
have to fight that fight at the
but
budget
then we have to
time, yeah.
find budget money for it, you know, so.
Welcome to the world of the
I know, and we already know,
department.
that we don't have the votes for that,
Yeah.
so.
You know, it would be really helpful to have a high level overview of what that process is, maybe it's a flow diagram.
Sure,
It would help me anyway, as to bear some responsibility and have
Absolutely.
a sense of an informed kind of understanding of how we can function within that
yep,
process.
I can do one for policy and for budget stuff, absolutely.
That'd be really helpful. When I
Absolutely.
think about what you're just asking of us and how we're talking about this, I do strategy all day long for the state. I'm used to thinking in terms of a strategic plan and
Mhm.
aligning ourselves to some mission and vision. I'm used to looking at, that alignment trickling down and informing the prioritization process.
Mhm.
And so it would help me to understand that we are not working particularly in that kind of a framework, and what's the analog to that, and then how do we function
Yeah.
effectively within
The
that?
most challenging thing, and I fully agree, of course, I have elected officials of mine in the past have learned to hate me because I have made them do a strategic plan, and then when they try to deny something in the budget, I've been number 3,
Well, and
that
you've
was
gotta
top
look at-
priority.
right, and
And
you've
you
gotta
hold their feet to the
communicate.
fire.
Right,
So right now, I would say that to a large extent, the city operates as the budget constraints that we're under are the kind of the driving
understood.
process of all stuff. And that's not always best though. There is always a little bit of growth opportunity in the budget with the new construction, and it's just what things actually get prioritized and moved to the top. It's just, there's or you'll find alternative ways to pay for things. Is it a sponsor? Is it a grant? Is it robbing a bank? Whatever you need to do. And, so that becomes, but you got to establish a process of saying, okay, it's $70,000. I think we can find it cheaper than that, but we need $70,000 to find a way to pay for this consultant to come and do this. Okay, well then that can be a direction to staff. You guys certainly have enough resources and expertise in this room too. Certainly that's a collaborative effort with you guys, because you guys would actually, I got something we would love to help out with that. Either put
Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just need to mention that this is gonna end again in 6.5 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just do you want me to jump? I can jump back on when it stops and hope for the best, and the recording can start again.
Why is it
Well,
stopping
we
and
have to figure
starting?
out, it should be on a pro account, and no, it's not.
I took over
So,
the
yeah.
account, but it's not pro for some
Yeah,
reason.
okay, we need to fix that, so.
Okay.
Okay, just
But that's-
an FYI that's gonna happen in 6 minutes.
Yep, clock's running, we can see it,
Yeah.
yep, thank you,
So,
thanks, Jamie.
We may have to table some of these agenda items for our next meeting, but just to wrap up agenda item 5B with the discussion of the strategic planning. It's kind of a big ask that is there a way that you can kind of summarize like what it is that your presentation, like what it is, and just to summarize it up that you want
Absolutely,
us
so
to do?
I would ask that, let staff, hopefully, think by end of February to have a quick evaluation of all those GLTC goals and everything, kind of said, this is where we're at, so as part of that, and flag the carbon related ones as we go through those. So we'll kind of highlight those, those are the ones because of the interest of this committee. I'll also take a first stab at what a plan document might look like. So I'm gonna try to maybe do an accelerated strategic process. Normally it's nice to do a nice ground up and really build it up there, but I think I've got enough feedback from this body to maybe kind of at least throw some things out there for you guys to react to. So what do you guys think? Is this just accurate representation of what you guys want? Or, like hit or miss, and then you guys can decide like, yep, that's good enough, get it blessed by council, give us direction, let's go.
So go through all the objectives, flag those that are related to carbon reduction.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, sort of put together a strategic plan.
Very basic, it'll be, like I said, it's kind of a 3 to 5 page, again, so goal, objective, action steps.
Yep.
And maybe if you guys, what I would be helpful for you guys is if you wanted to come up with either a vision or a mission statement to kind of help guide, not only the document, but what you guys would like to see for you guys as a committee.
100% clean energy. That's just a little request.
I mean, we can do that. That's
So about that though, so is it my understanding correctly that in flagging the carbon related strategies, that is going to be a way that we chip away at our larger commitment?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you guys can either decide as we go through all those that, okay, we want those, then that's it. Or we want those and we actually can maybe these other couple ones we think are good ideas too. It'll be up to you guys to make that recommendation. But knowing that that's an interest of the group, we will flag and pull specifically the carbon related.
So when Nancy and you and I met, I kind of like made a snarky comment. And I said, so are we here to talk about what we can do, or are we here to talk about how we reach the goals that we said we were gonna do, right? So I would, so when you review the strategies and flag the ones for carbon, I lost my train of thought.
If we have clear ideas on how to move the needle, we will include those.
Okay.
And we'll be very honest, if we don't know, if we think this is a good idea, but we're not sure how to get there, we need some technical resources to help us evaluate that.
Yeah.
We will put that right in there. Staff doesn't know how to do this.
Okay.
So we will absolutely
We
identify
need
that.
to figure that one out. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be doing as much talking as I am. What do the other folks on the committee
238
have to think?
for Amy. So
Tim, what do you think? Flag the ones that are related to carbon?
And use those to set discrete steps and goals with numbers that we're gonna track. Another 210 things that we kind of all look at and gloss over. 5 things we're gonna measure have accountability around towards the number one thing we've already pledged to have accountability about and publicize it.
Yeah.
And there should be public awareness of this, and that's one thing we in this community can do is be the accountability, court for the community.
Create a scorecard.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had the conversation, I think even the mayor has had the conversation about a dashboard.
Yeah.
Yes, we can, something we put out there, people can fire up, and that's something that we, like, once we kind of make sure we fully understand, even as staff, on these are the things we want to measure, this is how we measure it, this is where we get the data. Having that where we can actually have that where people want to just literally log in and have it live on the web and people can look at it, that'd be awesome.
It seemed when I asked that question last fall that I was the first person to ever ask the question about where we were on that metric. I mean, Thor didn't know, nobody seemed to know, so yes, a dashboard. Yes, sorely needed towards that goal. Yeah.
Can we take a moment to restart the stream just so that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
See you again in a minute, Jamie.
Okay, be right back.
I'm in 2019, we pledged these metrics. It's so much by 2030, by 2040. Where are we? As the top metric. And then these 5 things we're going to work on are maybe the 5 steps we are working towards getting to the next 2030 goal, and by 2027, we are going to work to do this with the EVs to get us to 2030. Where are we on these 5 sub measures?
So here was 2018, our sustainability
21.
dashboard. Here's 2021, our sustainability.
I sent it to you.
So we have had those in the past. It's just they've stalled for a while.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting tired. Where are we in the agenda? So do we need to, what do you need?
I'd say there's no action. I feel like consensus action, and unless you guys feel you need to do a motion, is to kind of continue to update that materials and present a document back to you guys at probably the March meeting, if earlier February if I can, but probably March for sure.
So in March, you would return and you would say, hey, I've talked to all the department heads and we reviewed these commitments. We flagged the ones that had to do with carbon reduction. Here's what they say. Here's what they said. They said, yeah, we're already doing this one. We could do this one in 1 year. This would be 3 years. This would be 5 years.
This one,
we don't know how to do this one, but we're willing to try it. Okay.
And then you guys can evaluate, and if we have some sort of prioritization exercise, or we'll figure out some way to work with you guys on evaluating those, and you make a recommendation to your other meeting that you have to go to.
My other meeting. And the recommendation would be for you to move forward on those things.
Yeah, it could be all of them, it could be one of them, it could be, we'd have to see what you guys think.
I guess.
But it also comes down to budget time though too.
Right.
We can do the same resolution. Right. These are all great ideas. But some of these things, if it requires a budget.
Yeah.
Then you guys are probably gonna have to be the ones to probably fight for that.
I guess I've just been operating on the assumptions that you already have the instruction to move forward and do it. And it's like Jennifer said, like, we just haven't been holding you accountable.
And like, so
because everybody wants to be nice and everybody knows that we don't have the money.
But I would say
nobody wants to push.
My answer is like, how and what resources? Nothing has been approved. So what do you want me to do?
Oh.
I want you to meet these goals objectives. Well, okay. Well, then I need people, I need money, I need, without that, that's the missing step right now.
Yeah,
Again, it's like, telling a guy to go jump out of a plane and not giving him a parachute. It's like, wait a minute, okay. So, I mean, that's the missing step. Jamie, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I do agree that I think that it's kind of all for naught without the infrastructure that you're talking about. We need that first and foremost. Related, unrelated, I'm curious how folks feel about, like, in my job, I use a lot of like AI support to pull research and data. Um, are people comfortable with using some of that for the sake of efficiency, just to pull things like what are the carbon focused outcomes that we can center on? Because I'm happy to work on some of that. That's well within my wheelhouse.
Yeah, if you've got, I'd say from a staff standpoint, Jamie, if you've got some stuff, by all means, do that and email it to Henry or myself. Absolutely.
Okay,
Be happy to take a look at it. That would be great.
cool.
All right. So we don't need a formal motion. We've
I think
already
I feel like I have
discussed
my
what
direction,
we want to do.
So,
We regroup in, for sure, March.
For sure, March.
Maybe
I'll probably
February.
I certainly have an update for you. If you guys get together in February, I certainly at least have an update for
Okay.
sure. So,
I hope my comments were taken in the spirit in which they were intended, and you don't
You
walk
buy me-
away
you buy me a
wanting
beer
to.
later, I'll take it, it's okay, that's fine. No, I mean, it just,
Maybe 2 beers.
honestly, guys, from my standpoint, it's like, you guys don't feel like you've had the direction and the parameters to really advance some of the things you guys want to advance.
Yeah.
And as a staff person new to this, I would agree with that. You guys you gotta have these things out there, saying this is what we think we need to do. It's just missing that next, okay, this is how you get there. These are the things you can start, or trying, even though, okay, we don't know if it's gonna work, but let's try. Public sector folks are not good at trying stuff. They're just not. They're just like, it's gotta work. It's gotta be, okay, well, yeah, try it. And if it doesn't work, you've at least learned something. Try it again. We have to, especially in this kind of thing, especially when we have low resources, you gotta be willing to try some stuff. So, and that's, I guarantee you, we will make our best effort to do some of that. So.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I really appreciate you being here tonight.
Yes,
And
thank you.
kind of gone in front of a firing squad with me firing a lot of the
Let me tell you
shots.
guys
So,
a quick anecdote. When I was in Green Bay, I was hopping into my interview here. They said, well, we have to apologize. Our meetings sometimes go like 2 hours.
Oh, I remember
Like,
you
whoa,
said that.
guys, they go 8 hours in Green Bay. They pass midnight. I mean, it just people, it's just awful, saying mean, awful things to each other. It was terrible. I'm like, you guys are an hour and 45 minutes. I think I can forgive that. I'm okay. So that's really not the big deal.
So then,
Just check your email.
okay.
Okay.
I am going to move on and try to really wrap things up quickly then. And so I'm going to close the agenda number 5 and move on to agenda 6A, new business discussion with possible action on community facing work by the committee for 2026, including but not limited to stormwater management and the Monona Tree program. We can talk a little bit more about this later, but essentially this is just to say, how much do we really want to be involved in community facing work? Do we want to rein it in? And do we want to just really dig into what we've been talking about tonight with being more governance, holding people accountable, things like that. So I think Monona Tree program is already in the hopper. That'll keep on going. The stormwater management, Kristen helped work on that. Already underway, already out there. I will check with Brad to see if there's anything he might want us to do in that realm. Jamie, did you hear that? I'm so sorry. I should have been, because Jamie was also really involved in that stormwater management rebrand. So
Yeah,
okay.
no worries.
Okay. Agenda item 6B, discussion with possible approval of the 2026 meeting schedule. All of this is to say that we would like, or Neil would like us to consider that maybe as the role of this committee shifts more toward governance, that maybe we don't have to meet every month. If we draw back from the community focusing.
Until we get the plan,
we don't have to
probably
meet
need to
every
monthly
month.
though.
It could just be a less frequent check-in, like, hey, how you doing? How are you coming along? How are you doing, meeting the goals and all those things. So we don't have to vote tonight on exactly what that regularity would be, but I just want you to think about that.
Yeah, and I would say the assumption there is that you guys are comfortable with that plan, whatever that ends up being, those goals and objectives, and you guys are comfortable with where that lands, and it's okay.
Good.
Yeah, not that it'll be automatically on cruise control, but
Right.
it'll at least kind of be set, and that would be the main thrust of voting.
And then
So
it
as
would
long
just
as we're coming in and we're getting those reports back to you guys, we're updating how things are going, and that seems to be working. then that's, I'd say, the outcome would be, that could be the way. Now, you guys may still have other things you wanna do
Sure.
between those
Yeah,
things, certainly,
yeah.
so that's
Okay.
gotta be up to you guys at the end of the day.
All right. Moving on to agenda number 7, diversity, equity, inclusion discussion items. Projects, program policy, or budget considerations for council advisement. I don't have anything to add at this point. All right. Staff reports, number 8 on the agenda. Henry, I know you wanted to.
You might want to take a look at that.
I will.
email.
And can you speak up? Your voice is
Oh,
soft.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just want to talk about what I've been working on since starting here, based off Thor's turnover document and with some meetings with Neil and Brad. I've been doing the GTLC reporting with Brad and Neil. So we'll be working on that. There's a March 31st deadline with that reporting.
Yep.
that, yeah, we'll be working towards.
Which hopefully our report that we're gonna give to you guys doubles for that and fills that purpose, so.
And then, I've been working on ICLEI trainings and webinars, learning the ClearPath 2.0 program, which will be good for reporting inputting the data into that program. It's like a whole program I have to learn, but it'll be good for inputting data and easily tracking and setting goals, and it can show us metrically how much we have to be like reducing certain metrics by each year to hit certain goals that we input in the system.
It's awfully convenient, yeah.
So learning that, attending WLGCC and SLC webinars, learning what other communities are up to throughout Wisconsin and also through Dane County with the SLC. And so that'll be good inspiration to bring to the meetings. And then also just looking at the various turnover documents that Thor left behind and getting up to speed on what's been going on so far. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
I will do one quick thing.
Absolutely.
Staff did work with Kathy Coons at
Yeah.
Dane County. She's
Yeah.
awesome. She let us know that they had additional funding for their EV charging program that they were trying to do. So we got on the horn and sent it out to all. We're looking for places to put affordable public charging is really what they're trying to do. And have it be a high enough speed that it's actually usable and feasible for people to use. We blasted it out to I think One City Schools, several of the apartment buildings in the area. They have a map. Well, again, Kathy, God bless them, did the work for us. They gave us these big maps with bubbles saying, we'd like to see charging in these areas. So we're like, oh, well, so the one that actually made the cut and is still being under consideration is the North Point project on Broadway. So I think if they're
Across
selected,
from Menards on Broadway.
if they're selected, essentially they will, believe they actually will pay for the construction, the installation, and like the maintenance of that charging station for like 5 years. It's a good deal. Now it's federal money, so you got all these reporting things you have to do. But North Point was very excited about it. They're good to go. A couple other developers were good, but they weren't comfortable with some of the federal regulations.
Sure,
So probably is okay. That's good. We're just probably required for you guys zoning wise, and you're just gonna have to pay for it then. In terms of we're looking at that, but so we were excited. That was a great collaboration. One city wanted to put it in. Dane County's using like their purchasing software to actually process the grant request. And they missed the deadline, so it got to 2:01 and clicked and shut it off, and they couldn't submit their application. So in the future, we're gonna still certainly, if another round comes up, we'll work with them to do that.
And the Bloom had some good news about their solar array. They went with a larger array on the roof, correct?
I think so, yeah, which is good because we've had issues with them on other things, so it's nice to see that one.
It felt like a little bit of a bargaining.
Yeah.
chip. It's like,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
really? Well, how about you put a bigger solar array?
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was interesting. What's that?
Good question.
Why isn't that a requirement?
I have an agenda item for our next meeting. Yeah, so.
Zoning wise, it's tough to do. We can permit it, but we can't require it at this point. It's difficult to do. But now the other side of that though is, however, for TIF projects, when the city makes a financial investment, those are negotiated development agreements. So we can require it as part of that negotiation. So you want to receive financial assistance from the city, we better see some solar and some other renewable types of investments in the building.
You know what, would you mind saying a few words about what we learned about Middleton? So the Middleton Sustainability Committee sort of broke off into a work group where a group of citizens put together a sustainable development guidelines, which, like Neil say, can't enforce the developers to do these sorts of things, but it just sort of sets sort of a tone and a culture. And if you want to do business in Middleton, this is kind of what we expect.
Right.
But to put some teeth into it, they connected the funding from the TIF funds to having checked off those boxes on their application.
Yeah. And
So while it wasn't a requirement, it kind of became like
wanted the money.
they wanted the money so bad that
The other thing that we are looking at, the city has, is sort of a standard zoning. It's very difficult, and there's some question whether it's legal to actually put that into the zoning as an absolute requirement. However, even in Monona, we have what's called a planned unit development zoning, which is kind of a customization of a particular zoning district because it doesn't quite fit the existing zoning class. So in Sun Prairie, the way they do it is they said, hey, so you start with the base zoning district. So this is a commercial, C2 commercial district is what this is here. As a part of that, it has, all of these different requirements for parking, lighting, all the standard setbacks, all this sort of stuff. In exchange for, we would like some relief from these 1 or 2 or 3 items. And in exchange for that, we'll outperform on these other zoning requirements you have there. Well, it doesn't have to be a requirement. You can say, well, if you guys end up putting some more solar or some more renewable types of things here, we can maybe, that'd be a good reason for us. That's the public benefit of suspending those zoning rules for that particular project would be that sort of public benefit. So I think there is an opportunity to do that as well. So those are the 2 things, and we're looking at trying to maybe formalize those, and that's probably good. I would suggest that that's probably good. One of the things as far as low hanging fruit from a policy standpoint that we could actually do this year.
In the green tier legacy.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, and I have cautioned in the past, it's like keep it as a guideline. Because as a policy, sometimes certainly as I've advised my elected officials, it always sounds really great to have it as a hard and fast line until you get something that, whoops, it doesn't. It's a great project, but it doesn't quite fit. But now you're stuck because you already said it. So, but even as a guideline, elected officials can treat it as hard and fast policy. No, sorry, you don't meet our guidelines. We're not interested. Thanks. So,
okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
It was really impressive what Middleton had done in that department. I'm going to move on. Thank you for all your staff reports, Henry. And then Henry said, check your email. And you said it to me with kind of a worried look on your face, but I had already heard the news, so I wasn't surprised. So Ken needs to step away from the committee. He just has other things that need his attention, which is completely understandable. He still wants to be involved in tree delivery and planting in the spring and all that fun that we had there. And I know that he would be available for questions as they might come up if we get into some bigger solar stuff down the road. But he just sends his regrets because he really wanted to share it in person, but he was having some technical difficulties getting on the call. Anyway.
Is that effective immediately?
We will miss him. Yeah, sounds like it is. I know. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
It's great resource.
So we're down 2 committee members, and it's really a challenge to find expertise in the community, but based on the conversations we're having tonight, I mean, maybe you can think of folks. Jamie, can you hear me? Think of folks that who are in these sorts of fields and things like that, and
a good advocate,
and let them and tell them to apply to the committee. So, all right. We're at agenda item number 9, adjournment. I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Kristen. Seconded by Tim. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. It was a long one, but it was a good one. Thank you, Neil.
2 hours. You guys seriously
it was good. We appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jamie.
Good night.